Well, hello to all of you from around the world. I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Soulivity Today. We're broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And whether you're at home, driving, or at work, we're always glad you're here with us. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and we have such another amazing show for you. We've got a lot to get to, so let's start here. You know, we're living in a time of intense division, where polarization seems to touch every part of our lives. Yet now more than ever, it's clear that the only way to tackle the massive challenges we face globally and even locally is by coming together and finding common ground. From extreme weather events weakening havoc worldwide and the undeniable urgency of climate action to social political unrest costing thousands of lives each day, the stakes have never been higher. And this brings us to ask two important questions. One, can we bridge the divides and rise to meet this critical moment? And two, how can we start acting as one humanity now, in spite of our differences? Well, back to help us answer these questions is Halina Goldstein, who is the author of spiritual poetry. She's also the author of fiction and nonfiction books, including the book Joyful Manifestation, Live in Freedom and Joy by Manifesting in Alignment with Your Soul Step by Step. And Sheila Applegate, who's a renowned conscious life coach, healer, seer, and best-selling author with over 25 years of experience guiding individuals toward conscious living. And so, ladies, I'm so glad you're both here because we're going to dive into this really important subject, which is the unifying force of joy, right? Because I think that with everything going on today, we need to change. And as we've done these series together around joy, it just feels like this is a really good place to start. And so, again, I want to make sure that we have a lot of time to talk about this given the scope. And so, Halina, I'm going to go to you first about this. I was just saying that the world needs to change, and that means all of us. And again, since we talk about joy so much and the power of joy, from your perspective, can you give us some insight about how joy can transform our lives to be a more uniting force in a divided world? And then secondly, how do you feel that actually works? How does it come about?
Big questions. But then joy is a big force. I actually do believe that joy can and must play that role. And it's maybe one of the few things, it's not a thing, but forces that can do that. Because there are no ideas, I think, that really can unite us. Whatever idea we may have in our mind, our wonderful minds can always find an opposite. But joy speaks to something else in us. It speaks to our hearts, and it speaks to our very essence, to our own being. I do believe that at the end of the day, we all want to experience joy. Underneath everything we do, even things that look as the opposite of joy, we are all looking for joy. And in that way, this is the one thing, force, experience, feeling that we all share. So this is where we can meet, regardless of all our differences. How that can happen, I don't think there's necessarily any quick and easy shortcut. I don't see it. What I do see, though, is that there is a growing awareness of joy in the world. What once was something that people were just discovering, or was in the spiritual life, knowing that, but not otherwise. Joy is going mainstream these days. More and more people are discovering the importance of it and the significance of it. and are, I think, opening to the fact that this is something that we need to start focusing on. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, because we're going to go deeper into some things and probably answer some questions that people may have around, like, how do you experience joy while everything's happening in this instance? But Sheila, what are your thoughts as you hear Halina talk about joy and it being this force in today's times?
Yeah. So of course I agree with Halina, and I'm thinking about what we've spoken about before, that joy is an energy and it's a frequency, and it's a higher frequency than war and separation and all of these things that are, and commercialism, really, like a lot of things that are working to divide us as human beings so that those in power can keep power or claim power. And when we're distracted with those lower frequencies, we can easily be manipulated. But when we turn manipulated and separated, which is also part of the manipulation. Yeah. So when we turn our attention to that force that is joy, that inner essence that we've been talking about, it's inside of us, but it's also around us, and it's a frequency we can choose to turn our attention to. And it's not the surface ness of buy this product and have happiness. It's that force. And when we're in that, and when we have the opportunity, either the knowledge to do that, the tools to do that, or we're in a situation where our life is, it's that luxury that we're having a moment where we aren't concerned about other things because we're in the cycle of things that are going well for people, because there's always cycles. But when we choose to put our attention on that, we are raising the frequency for everyone, and we're never going to get out of the despair by all of us staying in despair. So I feel like it's a unifying energy, because we can connect on that level, but also that if we're all taking turns and being in that vibration whenever we can, that's where we can imagine life beyond the despair. And so we do that, and we offer that as a gift for others as well.
Thank you for that. As you both were talking, I couldn't help but think that we become more pliable for manipulation and all these other things when we buy into that we're separate from our world, where someone else or is to blame for our situation, period, right? Not that there isn't things like racism and discrimination and those kinds of things. They exist, but they only exist because of the separation, right? And that people can say, well, you're in this situation because of this other person, right? That divides us even more, even though we're connected, right? And so the way forth is to give up those things that create the division and separation. And one thing that we all have in common, regardless of whether or not we know it, are these universal states of being, which is like joy, right? Joy is a constant. As Halina, you said this all the time. Joy is a constant, regardless of whether or not we're tapping into it or not, right? It's still going to be there. And so if we're all tapping into it, then there isn't any room for the other stuff, right? And so I think that's another reason why this conversation that we're having today is so very, very important. And so I'm glad. Halina, just to kind of continue kind of this beginning of our discussion today around joy and it being transformative. Can you give us a quick example of how in your own life joy has played that kind of role for you, so that we can kind of, almost like with other shows, we're kind of setting the scene around the power of joy in a more practical way?
I actually experience those examples every single day.
Mm, mm.
Because what I experience is that we forget, and I too forget about joy many times a day. So the separation that you were talking about is also a separation that we experience in our own lives. And the way we experience is that the way I can experience it in my life is in the form of confusion, in the form of fear, in the form of insecurity, or stuff like that, pain. What I notice is, because I have a joy practice, that every time I notice I'm not feeling well, something is wrong, something is bothering, I go back to the frequency of joy. I connect with it, and the change is immediate. From the experience of confusion, there's clarity. From the experience of fear, there is confidence, there is faith. Sometimes from the experience even of physical pain, there is no physical pain. And I could go on and on and on. But every day, because what happens is when we tune into joy, we tune into who we are. So instead of being focused on what is outside of us, we focus on what is inside of us. All the richness that we all have is there. So the transformation is actually immediate when we make it a practice.
Wow. 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 I mean, that's amazing. It's funny that you talk about this too, because one thing that I came into awareness recently that totally connects into what you're saying is one thing you guys know about the tenets of transactional analysis when it comes to parent, adult, child. I mean, this is something that's been around for a very, very, very long time. Well, one thing that I came into awareness was I wasn't bringing little Brian into my meditations and into the spiritual practices that I was doing. And what I found out was that's my center of joy. That part of myself is where the joy really resides. And so when I tapped into that and start bringing that part of myself into all these different areas, I found that my life there was a lightness that came about, right? And that I felt more whole, more complete, and that other things that I was worried about before seemed to kind of dissipate, and that, oh, it's going to be okay, it's going to take care of itself, just focus on this, right? And being in that state. So thank you for that beautiful example, to kind of set our scene. But we've got a lot more to talk about around this. In fact, when we come back, everyone, we're going to answer this question, which is important. And that is it really possible to feel and express joy during times of suffering and despair around the world? Well, we're going to give you the answers to that question and more next. Soulivity Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours.
Ready to embark on a wine-filled adventure? Go to oldvinewinetours.com and book your luxury wine tour today and experience the unparalleled beauty and flavors of Sonoma, Napa, and Lake counties. oldvinewinetours.com offers transportation for the most amazing experiences in the Sonoma Valley, Santa Rosa, Healdsburg, and all of Sonoma County, as well as the Napa Valley and Clear Lake wineries of Lake County. From boutique tastings to bridal party transportation, we have you covered. Visit oldvinewinetours.com or call 707-386-9859 for more information. Don't forget to mention promo code Soulivity to get 10% off either a culture or wine tour. Book your wine country adventure. Visit oldvinewinetours.com or call 707-386-9859 today.
What if you could make a free phone call and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Right now, you could be paying as high as 20% interest. Your new interest rate could be reduced to as low as 2.48%. You can refinance any existing car loan or leased car and save money every month. Take 5 minutes of your time right now. Make this free phone call and learn how to save hundreds of dollars a year by refinancing your existing car loan.
Dial 877-511-7277 now. That's 877-511-7277.
Hey there, we are back here with more on Soulivity today as we talk with authors Halina Goldstein and Sheila Applegate about joy and how it can be used as a unifying force during these times of a divided world. Such an important conversation today, because I know there's a lot of people who may be in despair around their experience of their environment, maybe locally, regionally, or even internationally. Halina, when we talk about this, I think sometimes people maybe feel guilty about feeling joy, maybe because they may have this perception that, it isn't really right to feel joy in our lives when so many people are in suffering or despair or pain around the world. So let's talk about this and give your perspectives on, first, is it even possible to feel and express joy in a suffering world without feeling guilty? And then maybe how we do that. What are your thoughts?
Well, yes, I do believe it's possible, and also it takes practice, like everything else. I think what you just pointed to is very important, that we are brought up with certain beliefs that make us feel guilty. That doesn't make them true. Beliefs such as you shouldn't be too happy. You should
Right.
not be happy when someone else is not happy. If you're happy, then there's less happiness for them. If you're happy, it means you don't care about other people. These are all false beliefs. It's simply not true. But this is what we're afraid of. We're afraid of being wrong this way and being judged this way. The truth is very different from that. Joy is just like love. Joy is an energy and a force that is by nature compassionate and embracing what is, and we really need it when things get difficult. We need it more than ever. We need something to help us feel faith, something to help us look beyond the difficulty and see a way out of it, something to unite us. So I really think it's possible. And still, I've been working with joy all my life pretty much. But a few years ago, when I started having this inner guidance to bring joy in when I was watching news or reading news, that was really challenging for me. It felt so strange, actually, to, for example, read about war and then bring joy in. But the thing to understand is that when we do that, we are not joyful because of the war, because of the suffering. We bring joy into that experience. There's a huge difference there. We bring joy from the space that is outside, so to speak, the suffering, the war, all the things that we see happening. And we bring it into the world to help the suffering, not to distance ourselves from it, but to help it.
Sheila, when I hear Halina talk, I can't help but have this knowingness that what she's saying is correct, and that this is about our power, the power that we have innately that's given to us, and that it's up to us to wield it. What are your thoughts around this particular concept?
I think it's exactly that. And when we're conscious about that power, that superpower that we have within us to hold those higher frequencies and joy and love, then we're able to help in a way that the majority of the world can't help. And especially if somebody or an entire country or a group of people or the world is in despair, war, all of these different things that can bring that sense of despair to us. I'm not expecting people in the middle of a war to feel joy, although I actually am, because I think there's always joy, and we forget that even in the craziness, in our craziest times, we find something to be joyful about, even if it's for a split second. And that's part of what fuels us individually. But collectively, when we're conscious of this is the best gift that we can offer anyone that is not in that elated space, because we're capable of it in that moment that we're remembering. So I see us as like tag teaming, right? And there's a lot, and that's what JoyKeepers is. If there's enough of us holding that frequency at the same time, the world will move in the direction of joy.
Right. Because this is it's individual action, right? But there's also a collective part to this, that we attract to us other people that are doing the same work as we do. And then there's like this exponential growth and experience that comes from more and more people connecting with each other that way. I'm thinking about things like when people came together for like We Are the World, right? Where they were creating this beautiful music, spur of the moment. The song was at the top, #1 for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, raised a whole bunch of money and uplifted people around a situation that was happening in Africa, right? Specifically. And then that spurred other unique things around, food for Africa and other, humanitarian efforts. And it just completely changed the dynamic of people's perception of what was possible. Right. And so I agree with both of you on this, that Halina, going back to you around this, that we are not our circumstances, right? Our circumstances can be a reflection of where we are consciously, but that doesn't mean that that's the constant. The constant is always joy and love and peace and all these kind of things, and that we have to consciously and purposely tap into it, right? And that if our world starts to change for the better because our perception has changed, we have nothing to feel guilty about. In fact, that is an indication that you're changing your world for the better, and that the world is changing for the better, because you'll be an example to and a light in this world to other people to do the same. Right. So Thank you both for that. Thank you both for that. I told you this conversation was going to be great today. I'm very happy we're having it. But we need to take a break and pay some bills so we can keep having this conversation. So we're going to take a quick break, everyone. And when we come back, we'll learn about something called compassionate joy and exactly how to express it from our wonderful guest today. So you don't want to miss this. So stay right here.
Are you a business owner looking to expand your reach and revenue to a perfect community? Being a Soulivity Today radio sponsor puts your business in front of hundreds of thousands of customers every week, and it's affordable too. For about the cost of a cup of coffee and snack each day, you can reach ideal people looking for your product or service. Soulivity Today is a weekly, hour-long program that dives into the heart of what matters most in our lives, the people, places, and topics that shape our world. It's the perfect place for your business to shine. Go to Soulivity.com/Soulivity today to learn how you can expand your business marketplace by becoming a Soulivity Today radio show sponsor. And for a limited time, special rates are being offered, so don't delay.
Addiction is an epidemic. Millions are struggling and over 100 lives are lost each day. Are you next? At Better Addiction Care, we understand the devastating impact of drug and alcohol addiction. Our network of treatment centers are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's time to fix the pieces addiction has destroyed. Our network of treatment centers offer detox, therapy, counseling, private luxurious centers, physical fitness, chef-prepared meals, aftercare, and your insurance may cover up to 100% of costs. Only you can put an end to your addiction. It's time to make the life-changing call and get the help you need. Call now, and in just minutes, you could be on your way to a drug and alcohol-free life. The call is free and confidential, and there is no obligation. Visit betteraddictioncare.com or call
855-246-4024. That's 855-246-4024.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to Soulivity Today. We're talking with authors Halina Goldstein and Sheila Applegate about the unifying force of joy in our lives during times of like division and suffering and conflict, and that, hey, listen, there's more to your life, and that you do not have to be living in misery, that there's another way and another choice that you can make to be happy and joyful and have more peace and love and all those kinds of things in your life, regardless of what's happening in the world. In fact, you making that decision can help change the world as well, from a collective standpoint. Let's talk about compassionate joy. This is this important concept that, Halina, you talk about a lot in your travels and sessions and discussions with people, that can help navigate us during times of division and suffering. What is compassionate joy?
I think it's joy's nature. I don't even know if I have words for it, but I think the misunderstanding we may have sometimes is that we can only feel one thing in one specific way. We can feel joy and then nothing else, but we can actually, we are beautiful, complex beings. We can feel joy and compassion at the same time. And I had a beautiful experience of it. I think it's maybe a year or two ago. It was actually in one of our JoyKeepers cafes, where we just spent an hour or something talking about joy, meditating on joy. And it was an online meeting, so I was here at my home, but I could see some smoke outside. But I didn't pay much attention because I was in this beautiful, joyous, high energy. But then after that meeting, I noticed that something was really happening on the street. So I went downstairs, and then I noticed is an understatement. I saw that the house just on the corner was halfway burnt down. So there were people. So there were people standing there, like really shocked and sad, and having all the kind of feelings you can have when you see something like that. And here I came with all my joy. And what happened was that it took care of itself, in the sense that I could easily feel both. I could feel compassion, I could feel joy. And what happened was that they all looked very sad and very worried. And I was smiling to them, but it was a compassionate smile. It wasn't, I wasn't celebrating, of course.
Right.
It was a compassionate smile, and they responded.
Wow.
And now you can multiply this with, 1 billion experiences, and this is what we can do. We can embrace, then we can give a smile. We don't have to talk. We don't have to explain. We can just bring that energy in, and then something opens in people. and they have more hope, and they have more strength,
Mm,
and they begin to
mm.
see ways to move through that.
Thank you for that. Sheila, uh, I'm feeling and hearing Halina talk about this beautiful, multidimensional way that we can experience joy, because what we see isn't everything, right? Whatever moment in time that we're experiencing isn't everything, right? Because a lot of times again, I believe in a master plan. I believe that the universe doesn't conspire against us. It conspires actually for our highest good. And so, there's always something to be really grateful for. There's always something that's going to come in a very positive way from whatever we may think is a negative experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love what Halina, I was going to talk about the compassionate smile, because it's
Aw.
that understanding that we can hold that space. People talk about holding space, and it is about empathy. It's about understanding that people are having a different emotion, but that emotion is on the entire spectrum of emotions, and that we can stretch our bandwidth to be in both joy and that compassionate understanding, and even feel what they're feeling and infuse joy into it. I'm thinking about times like a smile, sometimes a hug is appropriate. I may be in a good space, feeling joy, and someone comes up to me and talks about the despair that they're in, and I'll say, "Can I hug you?" And I'm not hugging out of sympathy. I'm hugging, and I'm not infusing joy. I am infusing joy into them. I'm not speaking joy into them. I'm
Wow.
just allowing them to be, and then they get to receive what that healing aspect of it is, even if they don't identify the word joy at that moment. I think, we're not talking about going up and saying, "Oh, yay, the universe is conspiring for you. Your house just burned down, but you might get a better house." Nobody wants to hear that. That is not joy. It may be true,
Right.
but joy is sometimes very silent, and it often penetrates into those darker spaces through silence.
That is so astute of you, Sheila, to bring that part up, because I think while we're trying to go to break, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the ideas of how we can start doing this. But one of the things is, it is not our responsibility to try to explain to people who may be going through something in their lives what that means in their life. That's not our job. That's not our job, right? Because we don't know. That is their experience. What we do know is that there's constants in our world that we all have, right? And that by connecting with that and just giving that freely in whatever intuitive way we're led to do it is what we're supposed to do, right? So the compassionate, joyful smile, a joy-filled but compassionate hug, right? Whatever that is. But we don't have to go in and explain, "Oh, well, hey, what's going on is this and that." No, that will backfire every time, right? And so just intuitively do this thing. And again, we're going to talk about this in just a second, because I think we want to give people some direction and some more guidance about how this all kind of comes about. So thank you both for that. Oh, that was so good. We're going to take this quick break. And again, as I said before, everyone, we're going to learn about the special way each of us can learn to become a force of joy in our world, regardless of external circumstances. So we'll talk about that next.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Dial 877-798-5991 today. That's 877-798-5991.
Join us every weekday at 8 a.m. for Soulivity Today.
Whether you're just starting your day or on the road,
Soulivity Today will make your days better.
We will empower you with authentic conversation about the latest news and trending topics. Plus, you won't want to miss our interviews with industry experts.
so sit back, relax, and get ready for a whole lot of fun.
Soulivity Today, weekdays at 8 a.m. only on KMET 1490 AM radio and ABC News affiliate. Hey there, we are talking about the unifying force of joy here on Soulivity today with my beautiful guests who are authors, Halina Goldstein and Sheila Applegate. Glad we're having this conversation again. This is so important. And Halina, one of your goals, especially with as a co-founder of the JoyKeepers Network, is this idea of all of us becoming this collective force of joy in the world. I'm going to say it with some power because it deserves it. And I love it. Tell us, what's your vision around this and how does this work and what do we need to do?
Well, the JoyKeepers Network is here really to remind ourselves and each other of the importance of joy and then support each other in continuing to connect with it, because there are like three elements of it, and the first element is to find compassionate or cultivate compassionate joy with ourselves. It always starts with ourselves. So that's the first practice, is to connect with joy, which the easiest way to connect with joy is through gratitude. Connect with joy and then make it a practice to keep coming back to joy, including when things get difficult. Feel what's difficult, embrace what's difficult, then bring joy in. We need to do it with ourselves. Then the next step is to do it in our own world. And that really is about bringing that compassionate smile that Sheila was talking about. And that's everywhere. And that's when we go for a walk, when we are in the grocery store, when we are with friends, wherever we are, to bring that awareness of joy with us consciously. And it does make a difference, again, in the way we were talking about here, not through words, not through convincing people, but through our presence. And I've really seen magical things happening, and I see it more and more happening in my environment just because we are there. And finally, again, we cannot do it alone. So there's the JoyKeepers Network where we can support each other and we can strengthen that field of joy, which we do, for example, through our monthly meditations that Sheila is leading in our cafes. We talk about joy, then we meet in a joy field where we meditate. And this is something that can be felt far beyond meditation. And there will be other events happening. We recently created a book together, things that help joy spread in the world.
I love it. I love it. Sheila, what about you? What are your thoughts about how we can become this powerful force of joy?
Yeah, of course, everything Halina just said, as always. And then
we can say ditto.
The two parts that I would like to focus in on to expand into a little further is that idea that we have to be in tune with our emotions. We have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable emotions, because if we're not comfortable with the uncomfortable emotions, the joy that we bring in is either subdued or sort of surface level. Because in order to experience one emotion, we have to be open to experiencing all of them. If we're pushing against one, we're pushing against all of them. So understanding that and being comfortable and paying attention. If anger isn't what you're comfortable, then, punch a pillow, see what you can do to feel that anger, or watch a movie that it doesn't match the emotion you usually are comfortable with, just to start getting comfortable with all of them, because joy penetrates deeper when you're comfortable with all of them. And then that other idea is that force of energy that we have, that gift that we have through imagination. Because imagining a world beyond despair is the same as this concept that we're talking about, being in joy. So if we can imagine a joyful world, then we are moving humanity towards that. And we cannot create on earth anything that we cannot imagine. So if we focus all our energy on the despair, we will keep creating that. But even if a few of us keep gathering more and more who can imagine beyond that into a space of joy, it may not come out looking exactly like our imagination perceived it, but together we'll build that tapestry that moves us beyond the despair.
You guys, okay. You guys are taking us to church this morning, all over again. I highly recommend people come back and watch this entire show, but zero in on this segment, because I think the thought that just came to my mind was something that world-renowned author and lecturer and speaker Iyanla Vanzant talks about all the time, and that is, when we're going through our path, a lot of times we don't think strategy plays a role when it absolutely does. And she talks about being these joyful and spiritual warriors, right? And that a warrior already sees the success and feels the success before they go to battle. And so here, both of you are kind of talking about this fact that, listen, you have to imagine and feel and have this practice of being in this state, right, where you're taking yourself out of whatever, state that you're in. Feel it, but understand that that's supposed to lead you back strategically to this state of joy. And so you have to be in it to be able to live it, right? It just doesn't just magically happen without anything, without you declaring it, being strategic, feeling it, imagining it, seeing it with that mind's eye. Those things bring it about. And so thank you both for that. Thank you both for those awarenesses and really honing in on the fact that joy is this living source, ever present in our lives and in our universe, and that whenever we want to tap into it, it's there, and it can transform our lives for the better, and help us navigate the negative emotions that do come up sometimes when we see things happening, right? So thank you both for that. Thank you both for that. But we're not done, everybody. We're not done yet. We've got some more stuff to talk to you about here on Soulivity today. So stay right with us, and we'll be back in about 60 seconds. Soulivity Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours.
Ready to embark on a wine-filled adventure? Go to oldvinewinetours.com and book your luxury wine tour today and experience the unparalleled beauty and flavors of Sonoma, Napa, and Lake counties. oldvinewinetours.com offers transportation for the most amazing experiences in the Sonoma Valley, Santa Rosa, Healdsburg, and all of Sonoma County, as well as the Napa Valley and Clear Lake wineries of Lake County. From boutique tastings to bridal party transportation, we have you covered. Visit oldvinewinetours.com or call 707-386-9859 for more information. Don't forget to mention promo code Soulivity to get 10% off either a culture or wine tour. Book your wine country adventure. Visit oldvinewinetours.com or call 707-386-9859 today.
All right, we are back here with more on Soulivity today, where we are going to talk about my favorite part of the show, in addition to the conversations, and that is some gifts from the heart, which are things that, listen, all of you, our collaborators, our contributors from around the world provide to all of you. A lot of them are absolutely free, which is the best thing. That's why they're gifts from the heart. You guys are part of a wonderful project that started last year that culminated in this wonderful gift that you guys are sharing, which again is perfect for today. It's a new book by the JoyKeepers Network and spiritual authors and healers and teachers across the globe. It's called How Do You Live in a World of Crisis? Ideas for Finding Joy, Clarity, and Connection. I'll go to you, Halina, to kind of talk about the project itself, and then Sheila, you can kind of wrap it up with your own bit around being involved in this project and kind of helping bring it about. So, Halina, I'll go to you first.
Well, actually, this is a project that happened very, very fast. And this is one of the miracles of the Joy Force, is that, and Sheila and I, when we collaborate, which we do all the time now at the JoyKeepers Network, we experience it like every time we meet, like we speak about things and then they develop very fast and they get much bigger than we thought. This really is the power of joy. So what happened was that I had this idea of making a collaborative book, and then we met, and then within a very short time, we decided to invite a number of people in our network and ask them these questions: how do you live in a world of crisis? And they were so enthusiastic about it. They felt the joy and they responded with even more joy. And each of them provided a chapter that they wrote especially for the book about their own experience. Again, speaking about compassionate joy, it's not just a teaching. It's not like, oh, you just need to do this. They were talking about how they arrived in a joyful space when they were moving through a difficult time. So it's been an amazing project and continues to be so, because we created it as a free book that you can download. But then we thought, why not make it a paperback also? So here it is, just in time for the holidays, if people want to give it to someone. And it happened the same way. We just talked about it one day, and a couple of weeks later, it was there. So joy is a force.
Wow. And again, this is beautiful, right? And Sheila, you were part of this as well. Can you really quickly kind of go over like what has been your experience in this beautiful gift that you're giving to people, as well as like information that they can probably pick up from it as well?
Yeah, there are so many incredible chapters, and there's such a wide variety of what each person talked about, and they're from all around the world, so they have different backgrounds. And it, like Halina said, with a lot of work on Halina's part, but it was very smooth and miraculous. Everybody hit their deadline. We invited nearly everyone we invited was able to jump right in with incredible joy for this understanding of just wanting to get something out to the world to help people understand how powerful joy can be. And there's such an array of ideas and concepts, and the background of the authors, the style of the authors, that there's definitely at least a couple things, if not all of them, that will resonate with each person. And the gifts that are offered for free in that are amazing too, the downloadable gifts.
Thank you for that. Well, just want to remind people that they can download their free copy by going to joykeepers.org, which is on their website. You just click on the free resources and books at the top of the page. And also you can find information about where you can get your own paperback version of this as well, because it's available at Amazon, right? It's on Amazon right now, where you can get a copy of that. That's a paid version, but you'll have a actual physical version of it. I know for me, I love having like the book in my hand, right? And then I can type notes and all that kind of stuff. But there's a free copy as well. Just go to JoyKeepers.org and find out more about that today. Ladies, wow, what an amazing, amazing show today. Thank you so much for sharing your light and your love. I mean, again, this is important stuff. This is important stuff for people to experience and feel, and it's a foundational thing for us transforming our lives for the better. So thank you both.
Thank you, Brian.
Oh, wow. I'm just doing what I do. I'm just doing what I do.
Me too.
We all do.
So thanks again. Listen, before we get out of here, I also want to remind everybody that to follow us on social media, where Soulivity is active on all the major platforms. All you do is do a search for Soulivity, and you'll find us on any and all the major platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to Threads to Twitter. We are everywhere. Also, I want to remind you that every Soulivity Today show is also a podcast. So you can download every show and take some much needed inspiration with you wherever you go. Also, listen, go to our website at soulivity.com to get even more inspiration for your passion and purpose. I've got some great new stories and features, including a new feature by our own Sheila Applegate about empathy, the heartbeat of a consciously awesome life. It's right there on the front page. Go check that out and read that. You will not be disappointed. It is a great read. In fact, it's bookmarked on my web browser, so I can go back and read it over and over and over again. So listen, on behalf of everybody here, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Soulivity Today. And thank you for supporting the Soulivity.com platform. This is how we do it every day, where we are supporting you with your passion, your purpose, and to create a better life, your best life of high quality living. But we like to say today. So listen, take care of yourself, and we're gone, and keep working on joy. I think that you won't regret that at all. It'll help transform your life today as well. So bye for now. See you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.